People believe all sorts of different things about issues facing the world. But what do Christians believe about truth?
Fake news is a word that's come to prominence in recent years. We're increasingly suspicious of those who claim to know the truth, whether the government and politicians or other institutions like the police or even the church. We're unwilling to trust them. Think about some of the conspiracy theories that have emerged regarding COVID-19 and the vaccine. As a society, we're increasingly suspicious of those who claim to know the truth. We find it hard to trust them, and that's because we doubt their motives. Are they claiming the truth in order to try and control us or manipulate us in some way? And so when it comes to the truth about God and what he's like and how we can know him, can we know these things with any certainty? Or are we all just speculating? There's a really old fable that's often told. It's about some blind men and an elephant. Each of the blind men encounters the elephant at a different point, and so they draw radically different conclusions about what the elephant is like. So the man holding the trunk says, the elephant's like a snake. Whilst the guy who's touching the leg says, no, elephants aren't like snakes, elephants are like trees. Whilst the man who's holding the tusk says, well, you're both wrong, because an elephant is like a spear. They all come up with their own view and draw radically different conclusions. And the purpose of the fable is simply to say that no one can actually know the truth about God. When it comes to the question of truth, we're all like blind men touching an elephant. Therefore, we don't know. We can't have any certainty, and it will be arrogant to claim that we're right and others are wrong. Therefore, let's agree to disagree. We can all be right in our own way. And so the truth about God, it simply becomes a matter of personal opinion. As long as we're sincere, as long as we're being true to ourselves, well, that's all that matters. It's strange that when it comes to the truth about God, our society says all that matters is you're sincere. I can't think of many other areas of life where all that matters is sincerity. Imagine you need an operation. Well, you wouldn't entrust yourself to a surgeon who was very zealous, very keen, very enthusiastic, but who actually had no medical knowledge or no surgical training. Of course you wouldn't. And that's because there is a right way and a wrong way to perform surgery. Sincerity is not enough. Because, of course, it's possible to be sincere and yet to be sincerely wrong. Well, in a far more profound way, there is a right way and a wrong way to relate to God. Not everyone can be right, for that is contradictory. And yet in our pluralistic society, claiming there is just one truth about God, well, that is not acceptable. You'd find yourself labelled as arrogant. Come back with me to the elephant fable. Imagine if someone said, you don't need to guess. You don't need to grope around. I'll tell you what I'm like because I am the elephant. Well, that's what the Bible says about Jesus. Not that he was an elephant, but that Jesus is God, the eternal Son of God. On one occasion, Jesus said, he who has seen me has seen my Father in heaven. In other words, I am God come in human flesh. Well, perhaps at this point you're thinking, well, that is an outrageous claim to make. But when you read through the Gospels, you quickly discover that Jesus' unique life backed up his claims. He healed the sick, controlled the forces of nature, and Jesus himself rose from the dead, the greatest piece of evidence. Jesus wasn't just a good man, or a teacher, or a philosopher, or a religious guy speculating and guessing about God. The Bible makes clear that Jesus is God come in human flesh. Let me take you to a scene in John's Gospel, John chapter 18. It's the very early hours of the morning on the first Good Friday. Jesus has just stood before a kangaroo Jewish court facing spurious charges. The religious authorities then drag him before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate proceeds to question Jesus, but listen to Jesus' response. The reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me. And so do you see the implications of what Jesus is saying? He has come to testify to the truth about God. How can I know what God is like? Jesus is the God-man, so look at his life. How can I know what God thinks of me? Jesus is the God-man, so listen to him. How can I know what lies beyond the grave? Jesus is the God-man, who has authority even over death itself. You see, the guessing games concerning the truth about God are over. God has revealed himself to us supremely by walking onto the pages of human history in the person of Jesus Christ. And so if Jesus is God, come from heaven, and when he says he comes to testify to the truth about God, then he's not being arrogant, for he alone has authority to reveal these things. Remember what I said at the start. We're wary of those who claim the truth because we doubt their motives. Are they trying to control us and manipulate us? But when you look at Jesus Christ, creation's King, he is the most loving and compassionate individual ever to have lived. Far from coming to oppress and exploit, he came to serve us and to save us, ultimately by laying down his life on the cross. Listen again to Jesus' words. The reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me. But how does Pilate respond to these remarkable words? What is truth? Retorted Pilate. And with this he left Jesus. Pilate was staring truth in the face, and yet he chooses to walk away from the very one who has authority to answer his question. And so my challenge to you is this: don't make the same mistake as Pilate, dismissing Jesus without first engaging with him properly. Instead, take the time to investigate, to explore Jesus and his life and his claims. All our services are currently online. We'd love you to do that. Jesus says, everyone on the side of truth listens to him. Will you do that?